the best economy in history.
When you hear how great the economy is doing right now, let's just remember when this recovery started.
More than 4 million jobs created since the election.
I have to kind of remind them, actually, those job numbers are the same as they were in 2015, in 2016.
I think he was trying to take some credit. He was trying to take credit for this incredible thing that's happening to our country.
It did not start with Donald Trump. He is a symptom, not the cause. He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years.
I'm sorry I watched it, but I fell asleep. I found he's very good for sleeping.
Former President Obama getting into the campaign swing as current President Trump responds almost real time. Let's bring in our panel and start there. Jason Riley, Wall Street Journal columnist and senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Molly Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist. And Charles Lane, opinion writer for The Washington Post. Well, it was former President Obama's first kind of going out there, specifically targeting President Trump. Your thoughts on his message and how that translates?
Well, he might be the best thing that the Democrats have going for them. He's still extremely popular in the party and in the country, frankly. And he's going to give it everything he's got for the midterms. So I'm not surprised to see him do this. It is a little bit out of the norm. Previous administrations tend to stay quiet. Obama's chosen not to take that path. I guess it's another example of how all norms are off the table, whether we're talking about how the media is going to treat this president or whether we're talking about how former presidents are going to treat this president.
Politically?
Well, I just want to say that that is an important point. We're told that Donald Trump is the only person who violates norms or does anything differently. And we do have a norm in this country that presidents usually speak well of their successors. You saw George W. Bush do that throughout all...
silent.
Or they're silent. George W. Bush did that through all 8 years of the Obama presidency. It's an absolutely free country, and people should be free to say whatever they want. But I think a lot of people notice that people seem to be breaking a lot of norms along with President Trump. And it is good for the Democrats to have someone like Obama coming and trying to rally the vote, but in the same way that President Trump seems to excite both his base and his opponents, the same is absolutely true for President Obama. People in the Democratic Party love to hear him speak. People in the Republican Party are reminded why they voted for Donald Trump or what they didn't like about President Obama.
Chuck.
Well, the catch-22 in a way here for President Obama is that if he were to go out on the campaign trail and not mention Donald Trump, no one would be interested, because the whole election is a referendum on Donald Trump. And the most motivating campaign theme for Democratic voters is resistance to Donald Trump. So in a way, there's no point campaigning unless you're going to break this long-standing norm, because it's the only issue in the campaign. I tend to agree with, I guess, both of my colleagues here that it's possibly a net plus for the Democrats to have him back out on the trail, particularly among African-American voters, who are going to be a key part of their coalition in some of these southern states. So I think we're going to see more of him.
Here he is talking about media.
I complained plenty about Fox News, but you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people.
Now, he had some interesting lines there, Jason. This is not whataboutism. It is just truth. His attorney general obviously called one of our reporters a co-conspirator, James Rosen, and a flight risk. And, there are different things here that, you kind of have to fact check. We are trying to fact check to the current administration. But that speech, there was some interesting moments.
Well, I guess the biggest pushback I would have to what President Obama just said was that he didn't have to worry about criticism coming out of Fox News because he had every other network in his pocket for 8 years, just like previous Democrats have had. So the idea that he wasn't overly concerned with what Fox was saying, to the extent that it was true, and as you just said, it's not entirely true. When you have every other major news organ in the country on your side, yes, you don't have to worry about these things.
And that doesn't exclude the enemy of the people rhetoric from the president.
Look, I mean, coming from a newspaper that's taken its share of blows, fair and unfair, from mostly unfair, I would say, from this president, I would say what I think, independently of what he said about Fox here and there, it is a fact, you can look it up, that Barack Obama repeatedly told audiences that they should read both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal editorial page. He said you should watch this network, you should watch that network, you should try and get both sides, you should get outside of your bubble. He told student groups, I believe Howard University was one, he rebuked them for not permitting certain controversial speakers. He supported the idea that conservatives should have free speech on campus. I think repeatedly stuck his neck out. And so I don't really think there's any comparison on that point.
That is not my recollection at all of the 8 years under President Obama,
he
including
said all
that
of those things.
he blamed many bad things in the country on people watching Fox News. He claimed it was on every bar in the country, and that's why Democrats were hurt. He tried to freeze out Fox News in multiple instances. He spied on reporters. He's one of the worst presidents when it comes to actual actions when it comes to the media. President Donald Trump speaks against freedom of the press, or speaks against the press in a way that does not live up to what we would hope to hear in terms of support of freedom of the press. But when it comes to actual actions taken against the media, the Obama administration was bad, and the media didn't care. And when Donald Trump lightly criticizes the press, or fiercely criticizes the press, they boycott him, they cancel the White House press, they freak out about the press dinner, and it is that difference in how they reacted to criticism by President Obama toward press to how they react to criticism
when
of Trump
Fox
that is
was
so
quote-unquote frozen out of the White House correspondence, Brett, you check me on this, the rest of the media came to Fox.
It's the White House pool, yeah.
Yes.
But the point is that
Fox did recently to CNN.
When it comes to actual actions taken and attempts to spy on reporters or go after them, the Obama administration was very bad, and the media didn't have the same reaction to it that they do to the Trump administration.
I want to turn topics really quickly, and that is the president saying that the Attorney General should be investigating who the author of this op-ed, anonymous op-ed is. Jason?
No, I disagree that the Attorney General should spend time doing this, Brett. I think that the president is legitimately concerned that someone supposedly in his inner circle has done this. It's something I'd be upset about too. All of us would, but whether it rises to the level of an investigation by the Attorney General, I don't think that's the case. No.
No, but the Attorney General should be investigating all the leaks that we have seen of coming out of this administration for 2 years that go against the Trump administration. And that's something we haven't seen any evidence that there's been any investigation of the criminal leaking against Mike Flynn, for instance.
Poor Jeff Sessions cannot get a break. The president just keeps on trolling him and harassing him, giving him more impossible things to do.
Although he said he's going to make it through the midterms at least, is what he has said.